guys, Annabelle here. How have you been? Honestly, these last few days for me have not been so great, which is one of the reasons I'm not wearing makeup today, because one of the things I've been suffering from incredibly badly is acne right now, and makeup is not helping that situation, so I'm just going to leave it off. I apologise. If you find this terrifying, please click off the video now before we get any close-ups. Anyway, my days were going badly, and then Ben brought me a wholesale box of cream eggs, which for everyone who doesn't know is my favourite chocolate in the entire world, and a box of like, I think there's 50 in here. That's gonna last me a while and it's incredibly amazing. As you guys can see, he is sat behind me, but noise cancelling headphones are a thing, and now he's looking at me because of it. So as a way to say thank you for him being incredibly nice to me, we are going to be trying to make him a corset. Yep, you did just hear me right. I'm going to try and make my husband a corset. This has actually been something we've both wanted to experiment with for quite a while, not because he needs, you know, some extra support like us women do, but because we both found a really cool reference in one of my history of fashion books to men's stays, and I really want to try and recreate that pattern to specifically fit him. Fun fact, guys, though I can't remember where I got this fun fact from, so corset people feel free to correct me, but stays were originally made for men and later adapted to women to create the ideal silhouette that they needed under all their layers of clothing. So it seems appropriate that I'm going to try and make some men's 1830s, I think we're aiming for, stays. However, today is not the first day I will be working on this project, so let's get you all caught up to speed. Unfortunately, we did forget to film it, but the other day I used some duct tape to wrap Ben up in, and then got some permanent marker and drew all over that duct tape to make a 4-piece corset pattern. Now this is for one side of his body, so these pattern pieces need to be double to go around the other side. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to sketch these pattern things onto some paper. I am then going to cut out from an old bed sheet, and we're going to see if it actually fits. And also, if this does go well, I will be putting the PDF pattern up in my Etsy shop. And can I just say a quick thank you to everybody, and I really do mean everybody, who clicks the links to go to my Etsy shop that are in the video description down below. It really does help me out so much, even if you don't buy anything. If you guys have any suggestions of patterns that you want, things you want to see me make, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. I do have a list at the moment that I'm gradually working through, but there can always be more things added into it, so suggestions, let me know. Otherwise guys, let's get these traced out. I really want the mock-up done by the end of today so that I can make the full thing tomorrow. Here we go.
The first thing on my list of things to do was to trace the duct tape patterns onto actual paper. Now I'm too cheap to buy pattern paper, so I just used the leftover Christmas wrapping paper that I had, and unfortunately I ran out of the dog stuff that I don't like, and so had to start using the good Christmas dinosaurs. Next was to get my mock-up fabric. Now because we are in lockdown, and that means that I am gradually running out of supplies, I decided to grab the mock-up I'd made of my Christmas cat night dress and use that to also make the mock-up of Ben's new corset. This did mean sacrificing what was technically a very well made garment, but it's also one that I could never see me using, so I don't mind repurposing it for something that I hope Ben will love. Once the fabric was ironed, I did my best to pin everything onto the straight of grain. I'm not sure I entirely succeeded in this, simply because there was a lot of angles in a dress that had technically already been made once, but it definitely turned out well enough that I was happy with the results. Once it was all pinned, I then took my lovely shears and cut everything out with as much precision as humanly possible. Then it was just a case of pinning all pieces together so that I could fit it to Ben and make sure that before I wasted my good fabric, this stuff was going to fit. As a side note, if it hadn't fit, I'm not entirely sure what I would have done. Luckily it did though, so that bridge didn't have to be crossed or burned.
Alright guys, we are all pinned and ready to sew, so let's attach all these pieces.
And thus began another saga of late night stitching. For the mock-up, I went with a 1cm seam allowance, just giving it a normal straight stitch before fitting it to Ben, and then going back over those edges with an overlocking stitch to prevent it from fraying. Satisfied that it was going to fit Ben absolutely perfectly, I decided that this was going to be the lining of his corset. After all, why waste fabric? So I went back and overlocked all the remaining raw edges on either side of the corset along with the top and bottom. You know, just to be safe. Next, I ironed down all the seams so that they were facing in one direction before pinning them flat. By sewing them down, this helps make the corset a bit stronger, something that I really wanted considering that I thought Ben would be putting quite a lot of strain on this if he wore it for day-to-day use. Something you can actually see him doing in the corsetry in motion video I put up a week or so ago. Yes, I know I posted those videos out of order. I couldn't help myself. This video had so much footage, it was rather intimidating to edit.
Oh my gosh, just look how neat those seams are. I am genuinely so proud of this, and now that this bit is done, we're going to do exactly the same in black fabric, because black fabric is what Ben has requested the outside of his corset. We're not making him a kilt, we're making him a corset. Where did I get kilt from?
Carrying on, I got the black fabric out that I was planning to use. This is actually part of an old curtain, which was actually very good fabric. It did fray a little bit, but overall it was incredibly strong and looked genuinely surprisingly nice. Of course, I pinned and cut out all the pieces pretty much the same as I'd done for the lining. Then it was a case of pinning all the pieces together, making sure to assemble them the right way up, which I'm not gonna lie, I might not have done the first time around. And back to the sewing machine we go, again using that 1 centimeter seam allowance and overlocking those raw edges once everything was attached. And while I was busy with that, I put Ben to work. He began by unpicking the binding that was around the edges of the curtain. I decided that I was going to be lazy and use this as my own binding for the corset's top and bottom edges. Then it was once again time to iron and pin down those loose seams. I made sure to do this extra neatly, as this would be able to be seen from the outside. Some impeccably neat top stitching later, and our corset was really coming along. I cannot tell you guys how proud I was with just the high standard of work I seem to miraculously be doing on this. Probably because for once I was specifically sewing for someone else.
And can we all just take a moment to appreciate these seams as well? I mean, come on guys, these are looking seriously neat. I think I might just be getting good at this. And even on the outside it looks like a work of art. Also, this fabric is like amazing to work with, and I'm definitely going to make myself a corset out of it once I finish Ben's.
Next, it was time to attach the front and the lining together. Leaving the top and bottom open, I pinned the two sides, right sides facing. A quick stitch and not forgetting to overlock, and they were officially attached. This next time lapse shows me pinning the binding to the top of my corset, something that I should have done after sewing the boning channels, and not before. Don't repeat my mistakes, people. My next tedious task was to line up and pin all the boning channels, something that took a lot longer than anticipated, but was quite enjoyable while watching a movie. One quick time lapse later, and the binding was attached to the top of my corset. I then started to sew in the boning channels when I realised...
I'm not even mad, I'm just laughing so hard about this. I have stitched this top bit along mostly because the fabric frays like a bitch, and that's a good way to do it. And I was just adding in the boning channels. And I don't know if you guys can see those two pins, but I've sewn through them. Literally sewn through them. There's thread through the top of the plastic, and literally I am so impressed. My machine has not died doing this, but now obviously they're not gonna come out, so I might have to trim that, I suppose.
And trim it I did, restitching that top piece of binding before moving on to sewing my boning channels. My next frustrating task was to insert the boning into the boning channels, something which I've got to admit is my least favourite part about making a corset. And then to seal those boning channels up, I just added the binding to the bottom.
So, the top and bottom binding is now all done, and can you guys see any stitches? Because I can't, because for once, you know what? I'm just that good. Clearly, my practicing has been going well. But you know what I can see, guys? A really fat ginger cat. He's looking pregnant again, and he's definitely male, and he's definitely been castrated. So, you're not pregnant, are you, Sherlock? You're just a little bit fat sometimes. So I'm going to leave the cat supervising the corset for tonight, and the only thing we have to do tomorrow to finish it off is some grommets.
A little too excited about this project, I decided to shove off my notions of sleep for a little while, and instead got my scissors out so that I could start inserting the grommets. To insert the grommets, I cut a small hole where I wanted each one to go before using my grommet press to, well, press them into those holes. All in all, I used 7 grommets on either side of the corset back. However, in my pattern I've put 9, and I would highly recommend it because honestly 7 was not enough.
Oh, Sherlock is helping me with my sewing, such exhausting work. He needs to sleep under the ironing board. Why? Because I am using the ironing board. And talking of using the ironing board, this is what it's been used for. All the grommets are now on. Now, if I was a normal person, I would probably just leave it here and call it done and be really, really happy. However, Ben has seen me hand embroider around the eyelets before, and he's requested that he wants this to be an all black corset because, you know, has to be manly. And so I've got to hand embroider all of these.
And so I spent most of that night hand embroidering as many eyelets I could. And as soon as I woke up the next morning, yep, that's right, I might have moved it to the living room, but I carried on sewing those eyelets until they were all done.
Girly Bear, why are you sleeping on Ben's corset? Is this why there's cat hair all over it? Okay, so Ben, what do you think of the finished corset?
It looks nice.
It looks nice?
It looks upside down.
How does it look upside down?
Now, when you put it on, it looks right. When you lay it out flat, it looks upside down.
Alright, well, shall we put it on you?
Fine.
That's before I've laced it up particularly tight. Oh, wow, you do look good. This is where I'm gonna say then, you gotta breathe in, because I'm gonna tighten it up.
I will say that as this was only a try on, I was actively trying to tight lace him into the corset simply because, well, why not? It seems like a fun thing to do.
So how does it feel?
It feels incredibly tight.
Well, you can still breathe fine though, right?
Yeah, I can still breathe perfectly fine past my shirt. See what it looks like when I actually have a t-shirt on now. Oh shit.
Ooh, it's quite sexy, really. So I'm just going to quickly measure Ben. I didn't measure him before, but we'll measure him off. Let's start with your natural waist. 85 centimetres in the corset. There.
Fucking hell, so that's what we're meant to go through.
Your waist is... now it is 89.
So for everyone like me who wasn't keeping track of the numbers, without a corset Ben's waist measured 89 centimetres and with a corset it was 84, which is a reduction of about 5 centimetres. Not going to lie, I was hoping for more, but I'm happy with what we got.
So guys, thank you so much for watching the video of me making some men's 1830s stays. I hope you enjoyed it. I would call this project a big success. Even if Ben does find it a little bit uncomfortable to wear, I honestly think that's just because he's not used to having that structure there. Otherwise guys, I will see you next Wednesday. Please remember to like this video if you enjoyed what you saw, and don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with all my current projects. I have so many crafting videos about to come out. I am so very excited, and new patterns for a lot of them will be going up on my Etsy shop, as will the pattern for the men's 1830s stays is currently on my Etsy shop. Link is in the description down below. Please do check it out. It really helps to support the channel, even if you don't buy it and you just look. And of course, if you subscribe, when I reach 1,000 subscribers, which let's face it is a little way off, I am going to be releasing a lot of what is currently paid patterns on a website for free when we reach that goal. So guys, I will see you next Wednesday. I hope you all have an absolutely beautiful day, and until then, bye!